It began as a hushed conversation behind Kensington Palace walls, one that aides tried to downplay and courtiers quickly silenced. But the look on Prince William's face, as he emerged from a private audience with King Charles, said everything the palace refused to explain. Something had changed, and it involved Harry. What started as another rumor about family tensions would soon explode into the most devastating royal announcement in years. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. For years, the tensions between Prince Harry and the institution he was born into had unfolded in full public view. There had been interviews, accusations, memoirs, and countless headlines that seemed to deepen the divide with each passing season. Yet despite everything that had happened, many still believed there remained a path back. They believed that beneath the disappointment, beneath the anger, and beneath the growing distance, there was still a father hoping for reconciliation with his son. That belief is what made the events inside the palace so unsettling. Because according to reports emerging from royal circles, this was not another routine discussion about family matters. This was something much larger. Sources close to palace operations suggest that King Charles personally requested an urgent, private meeting with Prince William, a gathering that quickly attracted the attention of senior advisors and constitutional experts, whose presence immediately raised questions. Such figures were rarely assembled unless a matter carried significant implications for the future of the monarchy itself. Staff members reportedly noticed unusual activity surrounding communication offices. Schedules were adjusted. Meetings appeared on calendars and then disappeared. Conversations stopped when certain individuals entered rooms. The atmosphere, according to insiders, felt different, heavier, more deliberate. As speculation quietly spread through royal corridors, whispers began to emerge that a major decision concerning Prince Harry had finally reached its conclusion. Not a temporary measure, not another attempt at compromise, something permanent. Something that had allegedly been debated for months behind closed doors, while public attention remained focused elsewhere. The possibility alone sent shockwaves through those familiar with the family's long-running struggles. After all, Charles had spent years trying to balance two competing roles. He was not only a king responsible for protecting the institution, but also a father, confronting the painful reality of a fractured relationship with his son. What made the situation even more intriguing was the growing belief that preparations for a significant announcement had been underway long before anyone realized it. Reports suggest drafts had been reviewed, strategies discussed, and contingencies prepared weeks earlier. Palace officials remained silent, refusing to offer clarification despite mounting questions. That silence only fueled greater curiosity. The lack of denial became almost as revealing as any confirmation could have been. Meanwhile, observers could not ignore William's reported demeanor after the meeting concluded. Those who saw him described a man carrying the weight of something substantial. His expression reportedly reflected neither triumph nor relief. Instead, there appeared to be a sense of gravity surrounding whatever decision had been reached. It was the look of someone who understood that history was quietly turning a page. The deeper insiders examined the situation, the more one possibility began to dominate conversations. Many believed King Charles had finally reached a breaking point after years of turmoil, disappointment, and failed attempts to repair the widening divide. If that assessment was correct, then the monarchy was standing at the edge of a moment that would redefine relationships, responsibilities, and perhaps even Harry's place within the royal story itself. And as anticipation continued to build, one uncomfortable question lingered over everything. What could possibly be so serious that even the palace appeared unwilling to address it publicly? But the shocking decision taking shape behind closed doors wasn't simply about family disagreements. It was connected to years of accumulated damage that the crown could no longer ignore. For years, many believed the divide between Harry and the monarchy would eventually heal. Instead, each passing chapter seemed to deepen the fracture until reconciliation began to look impossible. The rumors surrounding King Charles's private meeting with Prince William had already begun spreading through royal circles, But to understand why that gathering carried such enormous significance, it was necessary to look back at the years that led to it. This was not a crisis that appeared overnight. It was the result of countless disappointments, painful decisions, and moments that slowly eroded the foundation of trust that once held the family together. What had begun as a personal disagreement had transformed into something much larger, something that now threatened the stability of the institution itself. When Harry stepped away from senior royal duties, many viewed the move as temporary. There was a belief that time would cool emotions and allow wounds to heal. After all, history had shown that royal disagreements could eventually be repaired. Families argued, relationships became strained, yet somehow, bridges were rebuilt. But this situation proved different. With each passing year, the distance between Harry and the royal family seemed to widen rather than shrink. What was initially described as a search for independence gradually became a source of growing concern inside palace walls. The challenges did not stem from one single event. Instead, they accumulated piece by piece. Public interviews generated fresh headlines. Personal grievances entered public debate. Revelations about private conversations sparked controversy. Every new chapter appeared to reopen old wounds before previous ones had the chance to heal. Those close to the institution reportedly watched with increasing unease as private family matters became global talking points. The damage was no longer confined to personal relationships. It was beginning to affect perceptions of the monarchy itself. At the center of the struggle stood King Charles. According to numerous reports, he repeatedly attempted to keep communication channels open despite the growing tensions. Even as frustrations mounted, he reportedly resisted calls for harsher responses. Friends of the king often suggested that his instincts as a father remained powerful. There was always hope that another conversation might change everything. Another meeting, another opportunity to rebuild trust, another chance to bring a fractured family back together. Yet while Charles focused on preserving family connections, Prince William was reportedly becoming increasingly focused on protecting the institution. Sources close to royal operations suggested that William viewed the situation through a different lens. His concerns extended beyond personal feelings. He was thinking about the future of the crown, the public's confidence in the monarchy, and the long-term consequences of continued conflict. As the heir to the throne, he understood that today's controversies could become tomorrow's, its constitutional challenges. The contrast between the father's hope and the son's caution quietly shaped many of the difficult discussions taking place behind closed doors. Meanwhile, palace insiders described years of private disappointment that never reached newspaper headlines. Publicly, statements remained measured and restrained. Privately, however, frustrations reportedly continued to grow. Trust, once damaged, became increasingly difficult to restore. Questions emerged about loyalty. Concerns developed regarding future cooperation. Every attempt at reconciliation seemed to encounter another obstacle before meaningful progress could be achieved. What made the situation especially painful was that many within royal circles had once believed a resolution was inevitable. Instead, the divide evolved into something far more serious. It was no longer simply a disagreement between family members. It had become an institutional crisis, with implications reaching far beyond personal relationships. The monarchy itself now appeared caught between competing responsibilities, uncertain how much longer the balance could be maintained. And as whispers surrounding Charles's mysterious decision continued to spread, one uncomfortable reality became impossible to ignore. The king was approaching a moment where sentiment and duty might no longer coexist. And as those tensions quietly intensified, Charles found himself facing a question no monarch ever wants to answer. When does protecting family begin to threaten the future of the crown itself? Then came the announcement. Brief, carefully worded, and delivered with the unmistakable weight of royal authority. Within hours, shockwaves spread across Britain and far beyond palace gates. After years of speculation, months of private discussions, and weeks of mounting rumors, the moment had finally arrived. Buckingham Palace released a statement that, at first glance, appeared measured and restrained. There were no dramatic accusations, no emotional declarations, no public confrontation. Yet beneath the carefully chosen language, lay a message so powerful that royal observers immediately understood its significance. The palace had spoken, and the meaning behind those words would ignite one of the most consequential debates the monarchy had faced in years. The timing alone fueled intense discussion. For days, questions had surrounded King Charles's private meetings and the unusual level of secrecy that appeared to surround palace operations. Now, many believed they had their answer. Reports quickly emerged, suggesting that Charles had formally ended any remaining expectation that Prince Harry would return to a working royal role. Although the statement itself remained diplomatic, analysts argued that the message was unmistakable. The door that many assumed had remained partially open now appeared, at least in the eyes of many observers, to be firmly closed. What made the announcement so extraordinary was not simply what it said, but what it represented. For years, conversations about Harry's future had been accompanied by one recurring assumption. No matter how strained relationships became, there would always be an opportunity for reconciliation through service to the institution. That possibility had served as a quiet source of hope for supporters who believed the family would eventually find common ground. Now, that hope appeared to be fading, not through anger or retaliation, but through a calculated decision that suggested the monarchy was moving forward without waiting for a resolution. The practical consequences soon became a major focus of discussion. As attention shifted toward the future, it became increasingly clear that royal responsibilities were continuing to consolidate around Prince William and other senior members of the family. The institution appeared to be adapting to a new reality, one in which its core duties would be carried by those already committed to remaining within the royal structure. To some observers, the move reflected careful planning. To others, it represented a heartbreaking acknowledgement that certain divisions could no longer be ignored. News organizations across Britain immediately recognized the magnitude of the development. Headlines described the decision as historic. Commentators debated whether it marked the definitive end of an era. Television panels, newspaper columns, and royal experts all attempted to interpret the deeper meaning behind the palace's announcement. The reaction from the public proved equally complex. Some expressed sadness over what they viewed as the collapse of any realistic path toward reconciliation. Others supported the king's decision, arguing that stability and clarity had become necessary after years of uncertainty. Meanwhile, analysts increasingly suggested that Charles may have viewed the decision as unavoidable. For years, he had occupied an impossible position. He was expected to act as both a father and a monarch, balancing personal affection against institutional responsibility. Yet there comes a point in every crisis when postponing a decision becomes a decision itself. Many believe Charles had reached that point. The pressures surrounding the monarchy, combined with years of unresolved tensions, may have convinced him that maintaining ambiguity was no longer sustainable. But as the initial shock began to settle, an even more intriguing question emerged. If Harry was no longer expected to return to a formal royal role, what would his future relationship with the institution actually look like? Would communication continue behind the scenes? Could reconciliation still occur on a personal level? Or had the palace quietly signaled the beginning of a permanent separation, unlike anything witnessed in modern royal history? The announcement answered one question, but it created many more. And according to those closest to the unfolding drama, the most revealing part of the story had not yet been told. Yet what stunned observers most was not the announcement itself, but the private events that reportedly unfolded in the hours leading up to it. Behind every public royal decision lies a private story, and according to insiders, the hours before Charles's announcement were among the most emotional the palace has witnessed in years. While the public was still trying to understand the meaning behind Buckingham Palace's carefully crafted statement, attention inside royal circles had already shifted to a different mystery. According to reports from individuals familiar with the atmosphere surrounding the most dramatic moments did not occur after the statement was released. They happened before it ever reached the public. Behind closed doors, away from headlines and speculation, a series of intense discussions reportedly unfolded that revealed just how painful this decision had become for everyone involved. Sources suggest that senior advisors spent hours examining every possible consequence before the final announcement was approved. These were not routine conversations. The stakes were too high. Every word carried weight. Every possible outcome was considered. Those participating reportedly understood that whatever happened next would shape not only public perceptions, but also the future relationship between Prince Harry and the institution he had once represented. The discussions were said to be careful, deliberate, and at times deeply emotional, as participants confronted a reality that many had spent years trying to avoid. At the center of it all stood King Charles. According to numerous accounts, the decision weighed heavily upon him. For much of his reign, he had attempted to maintain a delicate balance between personal loyalty and institutional responsibility. That balance was now being tested like never before. Reports suggest that Charles wrestled with the personal consequences of what was unfolding. This was not simply a monarch making an administrative decision. It was a father confronting the possibility that one chapter of his relationship with his son might be closing in a way neither of them had ever imagined. Yet while Charles reportedly struggled with the emotional burden, Prince William is said to have maintained a different perspective. Insiders claim that the heir remained focused on the long-term stability of the monarchy. His concerns reportedly centered on protecting the institution from continued uncertainty and ensuring clarity about its future direction. To William, according to those familiar with the discussions, the issue had evolved beyond personal disagreements. The crown could not remain suspended between conflicting expectations forever. Difficult decisions delayed today could become larger crises tomorrow. That concern about future stability reportedly dominated many of the conversations. Senior members of the royal family understood that uncertainty often creates its own form of instability. Questions surrounding Harry's future role had lingered for years. Every new public appearance, interview, or development seemed to reignite speculation. Advisors reportedly warned that without a clear direction, the institution risked remaining trapped in an endless cycle of confusion and controversy. The pressure to provide certainty had become increasingly difficult to ignore. Meanwhile, preparations quietly began for the fallout everyone knew would follow. According to reports, senior royals discussed how public reactions might unfold and how the family would navigate the inevitable storm of commentary that would follow the announcement. No one expected universal agreement. No one expected the controversy to disappear overnight. The goal was not to eliminate criticism. It was to prepare for it. Staff members later described an atmosphere filled with tension and uncertainty. Even experienced palace personnel reportedly sensed the significance of the moment. There was an understanding that history was unfolding, but no one could fully predict what the consequences would be. Adding to the emotional weight was Charles's ongoing health battle, which reportedly cast a shadow over many of the discussions. The king's personal challenges made every decision feel more urgent, more emotional, and more consequential. As the final hours passed, one truth reportedly became impossible to escape. Family loyalty and royal duty were no longer moving in the same direction. For years, Charles had tried to protect both. Now he appeared to be facing a choice that demanded he prioritize one over the other. It was a heartbreaking position for any father, and an equally difficult one for any king. Yet despite the pain surrounding the decision, many believed that once the announcement became public, the uncertainty would finally end. They could not have known that the most turbulent chapter was still waiting just beyond the horizon. But if Charles believed the announcement would finally settle the matter, the reaction that followed proved the story was far from over. For Harry, the consequences appeared immediate. The announcement was interpreted by many, not merely as a royal decision, but as the closing of a chapter that once defined his entire life. The reaction began almost instantly. What had started as speculation inside palace corridors quickly transformed into a global conversation about legacy, loss, and the price of choices made over many years. As commentators dissected every word of Buckingham Palace's statement, attention shifted toward a single question. What had Prince Harry actually lost? On the surface, the answer seemed straightforward. Yet the deeper observers looked, the more complicated the story became. For years, Harry had occupied a unique place within the royal narrative. He was not simply a prince. He was a soldier, a public figure, and once one of the monarchy's most popular representatives. His role carried influence that stretched far beyond titles or ceremonial responsibilities. That history made the announcement feel especially significant. To many, this was not merely an administrative adjustment. It felt like the formal acknowledgement that a relationship once considered permanent had fundamentally changed. Public perception began shifting almost immediately. Supporters viewed the development through the lens of personal heartbreak. They argued that beneath the institutional language was the story of a son increasingly separated from the family that had shaped his identity. They pointed to years of public scrutiny, relentless attention, and personal struggles that had unfolded under extraordinary circumstances. To them, the announcement represented another painful chapter in a story already filled with conflict and disappointment. Critics, however, saw something entirely different. They argued that the outcome had become inevitable long ago. From their perspective, years of public disputes, controversial revelations, and escalating tensions had steadily pushed both sides toward this moment. They believed the monarchy could not continue operating under conditions of uncertainty forever. The announcement, they argued, simply confirmed what many had suspected for years. The institution had finally chosen clarity over ambiguity. At the center of the debate was the growing perception that Harry's influence within royal structures had been dramatically reduced. Conversations about access, involvement, and future participation suddenly dominated headlines. Analysts questioned what role, if any, remained available to him within the broader framework of royal life. Every possibility became the subject of speculation. Some believed private relationships could still endure, despite institutional separation. Others feared the divide had become too deep to bridge. The uncertainty surrounding Harry's future only intensified public fascination. Questions emerged about future family events, future communication, and even future opportunities for reconciliation. The announcement had answered one issue, but it had opened countless others. No one seemed able to agree on what the next chapter would look like. That uncertainty created an atmosphere where every rumor gained attention, and every silence generated fresh theories. Meanwhile, the broader debate surrounding duty, responsibility, and loyalty returned with renewed intensity. Commentators revisited old arguments and long-standing disagreements. Supporters of the monarchy emphasized the importance of protecting the institution. Others questioned whether family bonds should have carried greater weight. The discussion extended far beyond Harry himself. It became a conversation about competing values and the difficult choices required when personal relationships collide with public obligations. For many royal observers, this moment represented one of the lowest points in the ongoing rift. Not because of anger or confrontation, but because of what it seemed to symbolize. The hope that had survived years of tension suddenly appeared more fragile than ever. The possibility of an easy path back seemed increasingly distant. Yet even as attention remained focused on Harry and the immediate consequences of the fate, some insiders believed a far more important story was beginning to emerge. Because the long-term significance of Charles's cast decision might not be measured by what it changed for Harry today, but by how it reshaped the monarchy's future for decades to come. Yet the greatest impact may not be measured by titles or privileges, but by what this decision means for the future generation of royals. As one royal chapter appeared to close, another was rapidly opening. And at the center of that transition stood Prince William. While much of the public discussion remained focused on Prince Harry and the consequences of King Charles's announcement, a different story was quietly unfolding beneath the surface. It was a story not about separation, but succession. Not about what was being left behind, but about what was being built for the future. For many royal observers, the announcement represented more than the conclusion of one difficult chapter. It marked the acceleration of a transition that had been developing for years. And increasingly, all roads seemed to lead toward Prince William. Long before the palace statement captured international attention, signs of this shift had already begun to emerge. Responsibilities that once belonged primarily to senior members of the royal family were gradually moving toward the heir. Public appearances, strategic initiatives, and key institutional roles increasingly reflected William's growing importance within the monarchy's long-term plans. What once appeared to be preparation now seemed more like execution. The future was no longer a distant concept. It was arriving in real time. That reality became even more apparent following Charles's decision. Analysts quickly pointed out that the monarchy appeared to be concentrating its core functions around a smaller group of working royals, with William occupying an increasingly central position. To supporters, this represented stability. To palace planners, it reflected necessity. Every institution must prepare for the future, and the monarchy was no exception. The challenges of recent years had only reinforced the importance of having a clear path forward. Public confidence in William's leadership also appeared to grow during this period. Throughout the turbulence surrounding family divisions and public controversy, he was often portrayed as focused, disciplined, and committed to the institution's long-term survival. Whether fair or not, comparisons between competing approaches to royal duty became a recurring theme in public discussions. Many observers viewed William as someone increasingly shaped by responsibility rather than personal preference. That perception strengthened his position as the figure most closely associated with the monarchy's next era. Alongside him stood Catherine, whose role remained equally significant. Throughout years of uncertainty, she was frequently described as a stabilizing influence within the family. Her presence offered continuity during periods of upheaval, helping reinforce the image of a future monarchy centered on steadiness and public service. As attention turned toward succession planning, many believed her importance would only continue to grow. Together, William and Catherine increasingly represented the image of continuity that palace officials hoped would guide the institution through future challenges. At the same time, planning extended beyond the immediate future. Younger members of the royal family were becoming increasingly important to long-term discussions about the monarchy's direction. Conversations about the next generation gained new urgency as senior figures looked decades ahead rather than years. The goal was no longer simply managing today's crisis. It was ensuring the institution remained strong enough to navigate tomorrow's uncertainties as well. This is why many analysts viewed Charles's announcement through a much broader lens. They argued it was not solely about Harry's position. Instead, it formed part of a larger transition strategy designed to provide clarity during a period of historic change. By defining roles more clearly, reducing uncertainty, and strengthening succession structures, the monarchy appeared to be positioning itself for the future, rather than remaining trapped by unresolved conflicts from the past. As a result, conversations gradually shifted away from controversy and toward continuity. Stability became the dominant theme. The institution's focus appeared increasingly fixed on what came next, rather than what had already happened. Yet despite this forward-looking approach, one lingering question refused to disappear. Because even as William's future became clearer and the monarchy prepared for a new era, many continued to wonder about the personal cost behind the decision that had set everything in motion. After all, institutions make strategic choices. Fathers make emotional ones. And King Charles happened to be both. But while the monarchy looked ahead, many were still asking whether Charles had made this time entirely for the institution, or partly because of a deeply personal heartbreak. A king can issue decrees, sign documents, and shape history. Yet some decisions carry a cost no title can soften, and this may have been one of them. As conversations about Prince William's future leadership continued to dominate public discussion, another narrative quietly emerged beneath the headlines. It was a story that had less to do with succession plans and institutional strategy, and more to do with the man at the center of the storm. Because behind every statement, every decision, and every carefully managed public appearance stood King Charles, a monarch facing a challenge far more personal than politics. While the world debated the consequences of his announcement, many began asking a different question. What had this decision cost him? According to those familiar with the situation, Charles had spent years navigating competing obligations that seemed impossible to reconcile. On one side stood the crown, an institution built upon duty, continuity, and responsibility. On the other stood fatherhood, a role governed by emotion, forgiveness, and unconditional love. Most people are fortunate enough never to face a conflict between those two worlds. Charles reportedly had no such luxury. Every step forward seemed to require a sacrifice somewhere else. This is why the decision resonated so deeply with observers. The announcement was not viewed merely as a royal development. It was increasingly interpreted as the culmination of a long and painful struggle between personal loyalty and public obligation. Reports suggest that Charles wrestled with these competing responsibilities for years. Each controversy, each setback, and each failed attempt at reconciliation reportedly added another layer of complexity to an already impossible situation. What may have appeared straightforward from the outside felt anything but simple from within. As public attention intensified, many commentators revisited historical examples of royal sacrifice. Throughout history, monarchs have often been forced to place institutional interests above personal desires. Family relationships have been tested. Difficult choices have been made. Private heartbreak has frequently remained hidden behind public duty. In many ways, observers argued, Charles was confronting a challenge familiar to generations of rulers before him. Yet knowing that history offered precedent did not make the emotional burden any lighter. Insiders increasingly suggested that the decision weighed heavily on the king. Reports described a leader fully aware of the consequences attached to every possible outcome. Choosing one path carried pain. Choosing another carried risk. Remaining undecided carried dangers of its own. There were no easy victories available, only difficult choices and uncertain consequences. That reality made the announcement feel less like a triumph and more like an acknowledgement of circumstances that could no longer be avoided. Public sympathy for Charles appeared to grow as that perspective gained traction. Even among those who disagreed with the decision itself, many recognized the extraordinary position in which he found himself. The debate gradually moved beyond politics and protocol. It became deeply human. People began discussing not simply what Charles had done, but what he had endured. The emotional dimension of the story became impossible to separate from the institutional one. Yet despite everything that had happened, questions surrounding reconciliation refused to disappear. Could relationships still be repaired away from public scrutiny? Was there still room for healing beyond official roles and responsibilities? Or had years of conflict pushed everyone too far apart for meaningful recovery? No one seemed able to answer with certainty. The absence of clear answers only added to the lingering sense of sadness surrounding the entire situation. Perhaps that is what made this chapter so powerful. It revealed the human cost of royal duty in a way few stories ever do. Behind titles, ceremonies, and constitutional responsibilities stood a father confronting loss, uncertainty, and consequences that no position could shield him from. The crown demanded one thing, the heart demanded another. And somewhere between those competing forces, Charles made a choice that would shape not only his reign, but also his family's future. Yet even as emotions began to settle, and immediate reactions slowly faded, an even larger question started taking shape. One that stretched far beyond Charles, Harry, or any single decision. And as the dust slowly settled, a larger question emerged, one that could define the future of the House of Windsor itself. The real story was never simply about Harry. It was about legacy, succession, and the survival of an institution that has endured crises for generations. As the immediate shock surrounding King Charles's announcement began to fade, a broader perspective slowly emerged. The controversy had never been confined to one prince, one decision, or one moment in time. Instead, it had become part of a much larger story that stretched across generations of royal history. For centuries, the monarchy has survived wars, scandals, abdications, family disputes, and moments that once seemed capable of shaking its foundations. Each era produced its own crisis. Each generation faced its own test. And somehow, despite predictions of decline and collapse, the institution endured. That historical reality is what makes this chapter so significant. It is not merely another royal disagreement. It is the latest challenge in a story that has been unfolding for hundreds of years. Family conflict has never been a stranger to the House of Windsor. Beneath the traditions, ceremonies, and public responsibilities lies a simple truth that often gets overlooked. Royal families are still families. They experience disagreements, misunderstandings, rivalries, and heartbreak just like anyone else. The difference is that their struggles unfold beneath extraordinary scrutiny. Every disagreement becomes a headline. Every silence becomes speculation. Every decision carries consequences far beyond the individuals involved. What makes the current situation particularly compelling is the way it combines deeply personal emotions with questions about the future of the monarchy itself. In that context, Charles's announcement takes on an entirely different meaning. It becomes more than a statement about Harry's position. It becomes part of the king's legacy. Years from now, historians and royal commentators may look back on this moment not simply as a family dispute, but as a defining choice made during a period of significant transition. Whether viewed as necessary, painful, or controversial, the decision now forms part of the larger narrative surrounding Charles's reign. It is one of those moments that may ultimately help define how history remembers him. At the same time, attention increasingly shifts toward the future. The monarchy's next chapter appears more closely tied than ever to Prince William and the transformation that follows him. Throughout recent years, preparations for that future have become increasingly visible. Responsibilities have shifted. Expectations have evolved. The institution has gradually positioned itself for an era in which continuity and stability become its most valuable assets. For many observers, this transition is already underway. The future of the crown is no longer a distant concept waiting on the horizon. It is actively taking shape. Yet amid these conversations about succession and stability, Harry's place within royal history remains uncertain. That uncertainty may be one of the most fascinating aspects of the entire story. Some believe history will remember him as a figure who challenged long-standing traditions. Others argue he will be remembered primarily for the divisions that emerged during this turbulent period. The truth may ultimately prove far more complicated. History rarely delivers simple verdicts, especially when emotions remain so deeply intertwined with the events being examined. Meanwhile, the institution continues adapting to a changing world. New expectations, evolving public attitudes, and modern challenges ensure that the monarchy cannot rely solely on tradition to secure its future. It must continue evolving while preserving the values that define it. That balancing act remains one of its greatest challenges and one of its greatest strengths. Still, despite everything that has happened, the most important questions remain unanswered. Can reconciliation ever occur? Can personal relationships recover from years of public conflict? Or have certain divisions become too deep to fully repair? No one knows. And perhaps that uncertainty is precisely why this story continues to captivate so many people. The royal family now finds itself entering a new and unpredictable chapter, one filled with possibilities, risks, and consequences that have yet to reveal themselves. Looking back, Charles's announcement may ultimately be remembered as the moment everything changed, not because it ended a story, but because it began a new one whose outcome remains impossible to predict. Because while King Charles's announcement may have changed everything, some royal stories never truly end, and the next chapter may prove even more shocking than the one that came before. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.